have never talked about. Sasha has joined us for this conversation, and Lynx is in the background. So there's like a little bell. That's my cat. It's Sunday morning. I have the house to myself, and I figured this would be a really good time to film this video. So recently, I went to see It Ends With Us, and I actually read the book. I thought the movie was very, very good, and it really inspired me to make this video. So I talked to my friends a little bit as well if I should make this video, because it's something that I've never talked about, and it's a pretty sensitive topic. However, I think after seeing that movie and the response the movie has gotten, we can see that the topic of domestic violence and domestic abuse is very common, unfortunately, and a lot of people deal with it. And I wanted to share my own Lily Bloom story. It's how kind of I wanted to name this video, is my Lily Bloom story. So for me, my story's quite unique, and I will try not to make this video too long. But for me, the domestic abuse happened when I was a teenager, and I guess in high school specifically. So I was 10 years old when I moved to the US with my mom from Russia. And before that, my mom was a single mom. My biological dad was never in my life, and it was just her and I. And I had a pretty good childhood. Looking back, we obviously, I don't know if it's obvious, but we didn't have enough to live on. We had like the bare minimum. We lived in like a 1-bedroom apartment. And as a child, you don't really understand those things until you become an adult and you reflect back. But I was really happy. I had good friends. I had a pretty good relationship with my mom when I was a little girl, and it was good. And then we moved to the US. We moved to New York, and my mom got remarried to someone who was not a very good person. And this man was very manipulative in many ways, and also very abusive in many ways. For example, he was like emotionally abusive, psychologically, physically, what else is there? Every type of abuse. I think he delivered, for lack of a better word. And the mental abuse, I think, was the most, the deepest, I don't know, the most severe. And it was a lot on me. He made me not like my mom. He put me really against her, and I think during the teenage years, a mother and a daughter already have a hard time, and he made it even worse, and like really like put us against each other. And I think a lot of that teenage like life has caused me to not have a great relationship with my mom as an adult. Not that we don't have a good relationships. I just think it could be better. We obviously have a relationship, but probably not a stronger one as it could have been. I feel like this dog feels that I'm like talking about something emotional. Okay, love you. So when I was, I think, a junior in high school, and my stepfather started to like hit me. He never really hit my mom until one day, and I'll talk about that, but he hit me. And it would be like for talking back, he would like backhand me or something, or something like a behavioral thing that he would snap on at me for. Let me back up. So once he started like hitting me, it wasn't often, I don't think, but again, I feel like as a teenager, I just don't remember so much. And there was one particular day, I went to a school dance. I believe I was a junior in high school, if I remember correctly. A junior or sophomore. I think I was a junior, and it was a whiteout dance, so we all wore white. And we had a family friend over that evening for dinner, but they took me to the dance and then they were going to pick me up. And when the dance was over, I remember specifically going outside through these double doors that we had in high school. And most high schools, at least, I don't know, our high school had a set of doors, and there was like 2 sets of doors. So like you can go out of this door or this door. They were like, they're all glass, but in the same area, but you can go out either. So we had these 2 sets of doors that you can walk out of. And I remember walking out of, I don't know, the left one, let's say. And I saw my stepfather's car. And I walked to the car. It was like kind of right in front. And he wasn't in the car. And I was like, oh, that's weird. Sorry, my cat keeps sneezing. And I'm like, that's weird. He's not in the car. And I see like people getting into their cars like with their parents and leaving. And then like I went back up and I was like, I don't know, maybe he like went inside or something. So I go back like to the other door. And he was standing there talking to one of the teachers because he built a house for them. And I was like, oh, I was like, oh, there you are. And he was like, you didn't come out of this, of the school. And I was like, yeah, I just came out of the other side. You probably didn't see me because a lot of kids were coming out. And he was like, no, you weren't at the dance. You didn't come out of this school. I was like, yes, I was. Like, ask anyone. Like, I was inside. So we get in the car, and he like kept saying to me that I wasn't at the dance, and how he saw me walking on the street with some boys. And I didn't do things like that. I like really did follow the rules, and I was at the dance that day. And he started accusing me of the fact that I'm lying and all this stuff. I mean, and the drive from the school to my house was maybe like, I don't know, less than 10 minutes. And then all of a sudden, I was like, yeah, I was at the dance, and we were arguing. And I was sitting in the front seat, and he hit me really hard across my face with like his backhand. And he hit me like here in my nose area. And I just remember going like this, and there was like blood because I got hit in my nose, and my nose started bleeding. My nose started bleeding, and I think he looked over and realized like what has happened, and he kind of like stopped talking, and I was like crying, of course, and I was wearing all white. And I just remember picking, like kind of grabbing my shirt to just like wipe my nose because I was crying, and when you're crying you have like obviously like snot mucus coming out and then all this blood. And I was like covered in blood. It was like out of a movie. It's like it was on the seat belt, it was all over the car inside. And I remember pulling into the house and just like running out of the car. And my mom was like upstairs, and she saw me, and she was so horrified. And she was just like go in your room, close the door, don't come out of your room until I come back. I think I remember going to the bathroom. I remember going to the bathroom and looking at myself in the mirror, and like my white shirt was red. I was like, oh my god, like what happened? And of course my mom had a freak out. There was a huge argument downstairs. I think my stepfather realized like how much he fucked up. And I don't know what was happening down there. I didn't leave my room, but obviously I heard the fighting. Right now it's been 15 years. I don't remember, 16 years ago. But then she came back up, and this thing I'll never forget, and she said to me like, I think we need to leave and go to a shelter. And I don't want to blame my mom, but it's not something that you ask a teenager. I think as an adult you make that decision by yourself. And when she said that to me, of course, as any teenager who's extremely probably insecure and doesn't like, just cares about what other people think of them, I was like, no, we can't leave. Like, I'm in school. What is it people are gonna say about me? Blah, 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 blah. And I remember like down the road, my mom brought up that thing to me. She's like, "What I told you, we should have left." And I don't know if she like blamed it on me, or it was more of like validating herself that she knew that she had to leave and she didn't. Because she wasn't working at the time. She was completely financially dependent on this person, like didn't have her own bank accounts, didn't have anything. It's just something I remember that night. And of course, like the weeks after that, like I wouldn't speak to my stepfather. Like it was really, really awkward in the house. Like I wouldn't eat a meal together. I would like eat alone. And it was bad. And then after that, I guess things kind of went back to normal. I remember him apologizing to me, blah, 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 blah. But it still continued. Like, he still wouldn't physically abuse me. He didn't hit my mom. And I think that was kind of the thing that made her kind of stay in a way. I don't know. I've never really asked her. And then I'm just not really ready to talk about like other things that he did. However, I remember my senior year of high school, my mom and him were fighting. We usually rented our house for the summer. We lived on Long Island, and you could rent your house for the summer and make a lot of money. So we used to rent our house, and then we would go down to Florida for the summer because we had another apartment there. And he rented our house, and my mom was like, "I'm not going anywhere. Like, I'm just not going anywhere." And I remember going to school. Like, they were not speaking, but they were speaking to me. It was a big like silent treatment house. We would go like weeks upon like them not speaking to each other. So very toxic. I remember going to high school. It was my senior year, and I was involved with the student like body, student government body. Like I did a lot for our senior class, and like I had a really good relationship with our principal. Like I would be in his office, so it wasn't weird for me to go to his office. And I was in class, and like the phone rang, and they were like, "Can you send Vera into the principal's office?" And like I didn't think twice about it. I was like, "Oh, it's probably about something that we're doing." And he called me into his office, and he was like, "Hey, like sit down, whatever." It was like he was a young guy. He was really nice, and he was like, "There was an incident at your house." I was like, "What are you talking about?" And he was like, "Your stepfather got arrested for like hitting your mom." And I was so shocked. But now looking back, it was just like a matter of time, and I'm glad that she called the police. I'm glad I wasn't there. I'm glad I didn't witness that. She never really told me what happened. She told me he hit her. He was arrested, but quickly released and didn't get any consequences for it. And that was the day my mom left. She literally packed her car with as much as she could, her things and my things, and we left that day. And I never went back to that house, and I never saw my stepdad ever since. And we went to a family friend. We stayed with her for a while, and then I was going to college, and that's another story. But I did end up going to college, and I was like very grateful that I was able to kind of get out of that town and just get out of, you know, the memories that I had there. I'll say that I am proud of her, like, for leaving, of course, A, and then B, for reporting him. My mom didn't get like a dime out of the divorce settlement. She had like, the only thing she got, I think, was her car that was like paid off and was worth like $5,000. But what I was gonna say is, my stepdad like manipulated my mind so hard that I was like mad at her that she left in the moment. I was mad that this whole situation happened. I was mad that like she was kind of like ruining our lives. Can you imagine being like 17 years old and you live in this, we lived in a beautiful house with like 5 bedrooms, and then you go into like someone else's home that you know, it's just so uncomfortable. Even though like I made the best of it, and our family friend has been like great, and probably like I owe, I don't know, I don't want to say my whole life to them, but reason why I wanted to make this video is because a decade and a half later, a decade and a half later, and obviously it still affects me. Honestly, I didn't think I was gonna cry. Over a decade later, honestly, almost decades later. How old am I? Well, no, like 15, 16 years ago this happened, right? And it's still obviously painful. My hope is just, if someone sees this that is in that situation, they're the daughter, they're the teenager, they're going through this, just know, like, you have a choice and you can leave. And it's so hard in the moment, but it's so worth it once you do leave and you see how manipulated you were. And it's not your fault. It's, people that are narcissists and these grand manipulators are very good at what they do, unfortunately. And now that I have kids, or I'm pregnant and I have a toddler, I'm just so mindful with the choices I'm making, the things that I say, the things that I do around like my kids. And just looking back, I think I had a lot of blame towards my mom. I had like resentment and also, yeah, I guess blame. And now also I understand why, I understand why probably she couldn't do the things that she wanted to do, because she was also very lost, and she did the best she could. I do believe that. So I think what a lot of people could take from the story is kind of two things, like kind of take two paths, like being the victim and this happened to me and this is why I'm so messed up now, or this happened to me and I want to heal and make sure this never happens to anybody in my family line. And I do think I took the latter approach. I went to therapy. I have done extreme personal development work, especially over the last probably 5 years. I've done a lot of things to heal those, really dark wounds, and I'm really happy to say that in my marriage, the person that I chose is the complete opposite of that stepfather that I had. I can see like how a man can treat a woman and treat, his children in such a healthy and respectful way, even when, you're arguing or you're having the biggest fight you can have, you can still respect each other at the end of the day. I'm so grateful I found someone like that. I think that, I don't want to speak for my mom, but I don't know if she's ever been in a healthy relationship that didn't have some kind of form, I don't want to say form of abuse, but respect, and it's sad to see. And after a while, when you have been in so many bad relationships, you kind of like blame men and you say like all men are like this, and it's not true. You kind of, I do believe you attract what you believe in, and if you have that type of mentality, you probably won't be attracting many amazing men in your life. So I do wish one day that hopefully she can be in a healthy relationship, or just find that healthy relationship with herself. Anyway, I think this video has been long. I try to edit it as much as I can. I don't know why I guess it just sparked for me to share this. It's pretty deep, and you know, that's not what this platform is meant to be predominantly. However, when things like this happen, like these movies come out or something inspiring happens and I can relate so much and I feel like so many other people can relate, I want to share that. And just if one person can see this and know that they're not alone, and it can end with you, because it did end with me, and in a way it ended with my mom as well, to know that like there is hope and you can, as much as you probably think in the moment you cannot, you can leave an abusive relationship. And you know, there's so many better things waiting for you. You know, life is difficult and challenging at times. It doesn't have to be all the time, but there will be challenging moments, but you don't have to suffer and endure pain. So yeah, thank you for watching, and I'll see you guys in my next video.